In the heart of Enugu, a 15-year-old boy named Joseph dreamed of building his mother a mansion, but life had other plans. One kind stranger, one big promise. And just like that, Joseph disappeared. No school, no dream, just a cold workshop floor, greasy engines, and broken trust. But fate wasn't done. One night, broken and barefoot, Joseph collapsed outside a mansion he didn't know would change everything. Because behind those golden gates was the truth. A girl named Mary saved him. A photo on the wall revealed a shocking secret, and the man who fed the city's elite was his father. But this wasn't a happy ending, yet. The same man who stole Joseph's childhood was ready to strike again. Kidnapping, arson, betrayal, even secrets hidden by those closest to him. And just when Joseph thought he found a home, another twist shattered everything. Will truth bring healing or destroy the new family he just found? Stay with us, because this isn't just a story of a homeless boy, it's a story of destiny, forgiveness, and the war between blood and betrayal. Subscribe, like, share, because what happens next will break your heart and rebuild it. The morning sun rose over Enugu. 15-year-old Joseph tightened his slippers and balanced a tray of steaming jollof rice on his head. His mother, Elizabeth, was already shouting at the bus stop. Hot jollof, with meat with plantain, come and buy. They worked hard, side by side. They didn't have much, but they had love. After selling, Joseph would run off to school, always carrying his books in a nylon bag. Mama, he would say every night, one day I'll build you a big house. She would smile, rub his head, and whisper, just don't forget who you are. One busy afternoon, a black SUV stopped by their food stand. Out came a tall, shiny man in Agbada, Mr. Paul. Madam, your rice smells like home, he said, smiling at Elizabeth. She laughed, wiping sweat from her brow. Now my son cook am. Paul looked at Joseph closely. A boy this smart should not be here, he said. Let me help him. He spoke softly, full of sweet words. I'll take him to a good school in Lagos. I'll treat him like my own. Madam, just say yes. Elizabeth's heart beat fast. Lagos? School? But Joseph looked so excited, so full of dreams. She gave in. Take care of him, she said, hugging her son tightly. Don't forget me, Joseph. I won't, Mama. But when they reached Lagos, Paul didn't take Joseph to a school. He took him to a dirty mechanic workshop. This is your school now, Paul growled. You fix cars, you wash, you sleep on the floor, you complain, you sleep outside. Joseph blinked. But you said. Shut up, Paul shouted. You belong to me now. Joseph worked like a donkey. No books, no friends, only grease, cold water, and hunger. Nights were the worst. He'd cry holding a torn photo of his mother. I'm sorry, Mama. 1 year passed. No pay, no freedom, just pain. One night, when the gate was left open, Joseph ran. He ran with bare feet, ran with tears, ran with only that photo in his pocket. He slept in markets. He begged for water. He sold pure water at traffic lights, just to eat. But Lagos is big, and cold, and cruel. One night, too tired to walk, he saw a big white house. It looked like heaven. He dragged himself to the gate. It glowed like gold. He collapsed on the ground, dirty, hungry, and shaking. His voice cracked. Mama? He didn't know. The next morning would change his life forever. Morning came. Birds chirped. Cars passed. But by the golden gate of Chief Peter's mansion, Joseph still lay on the ground, weak, his lips dry, his shirt torn. Suddenly, the gate opened. 2 security guards walked out. One pointed, Who is this dirty boy? Maybe a thief, the other growled. Let's beat him. They raised their sticks. Then, a voice screamed from above. Stop! A young girl stood on the balcony. She wore a pink dress, her hair in braids, her eyes full of fire. Her name was Mary, Chief Peter's only daughter. 14 years old, kind, sharp, secretly different from the rich world around her. The guards froze. He's not a thief, she said. He's just hungry. Inside, Chief Peter frowned. A tall, bald man with a deep voice, powerful, feared. Mary, why are you defending a street boy? He's not just a street boy, Daddy. He's human, Peter sighed. Fine, let him bathe, feed him, then he goes. Mary clapped. Thank you, Daddy. Inside the mansion, Joseph was bathed by the staff, clean clothes, hot rice, a bed, but he sat quietly, staring at the food. Eat, Mary whispered. You're safe now. Joseph looked at her, eyes full of tears. You saved me, thank you. He picked up the spoon and wept. Later that evening, Mary gave him a tour of the house. She pointed at a painting. That's my grandfather. But Joseph wasn't listening. His eyes were stuck on a photo on the wall, a family portrait. Chief Peter, a younger version of him. 2 women beside him. Joseph walked closer, his hands shook. That's my mummy, Mary blinked. What? He stepped back. That woman, that's my mother Elizabeth, she raised me in Enugu. Mary ran to call her father. Chief Peter entered the room. Joseph pointed at the photo. That's my mummy, he said again. Peter's face went pale. What? What did you say your mother's name is? Elizabeth. She sells food by the bus stop in Enugu. Chief Peter collapsed into the chair. He whispered, No, it can't be. Mary looked at them both. Daddy, what's going on? Peter stood slowly. Elizabeth was once my fiancée, before she disappeared. She was pregnant when she left. His voice cracked. I searched for her for years, but she was gone. Mary gasped. That means Joseph is. Peter dropped to his knees, his eyes filled with tears. My son. Joseph stood still, heart pounding. He had found his real father, but the man who destroyed everything, Mr. Paul, was still out there, and he was Chief Peter's cousin. The truth was only just beginning. Silence filled the room. Joseph stared at Chief Peter. You're my father? Chief Peter's voice trembled. If your mother is Elizabeth, yes, you are my son. Joseph's hands balled into fists. Then why did you leave us? Why did she suffer selling rice in the sun while you lived in a palace? Peter shook his head. I never left her. She vanished without a word. We were planning our wedding. Mary whispered. But if she disappeared, someone must have made it happen. Joseph's voice was low, but sharp. The man who took me to Lagos said his name was Mr. Paul. Peter's face went cold. Paul? Chief Peter's eyes darkened. Paul is my cousin. He lived with us for years, but I trusted him too much. He walked slowly to a drawer and pulled out an old photo album. In one photo, a younger Elizabeth stood between Peter and another man. That's him, Joseph said, pointing. That's the man who tricked my mother and me. Peter closed the book. Paul was jealous. Jealous of everything. My success, my love, my future with Elizabeth. Mary's eyes widened. So he lied? Peter nodded slowly. He told me Elizabeth left me. He told her I didn't want her anymore. Then he made her disappear. And I believed him. Joseph gritted his teeth. He took me from my mother, forced me into child labor. I was just a boy. Peter clenched his fist. He stole my son. He destroyed my family. Peter paced the room. This ends now. I'll find him. He must face justice. Mary grabbed Joseph's hand. We'll help. Peter turned. Joseph, I swear I'll fix this. You're my son. You belong here now. Joseph looked down. But Mama, she's still in Enugu. She doesn't even know I'm alive. Peter nodded. We'll bring her home. Far away, in a dark corner of Lagos, Mr. Paul sat in his living room, watching the news. He saw Chief Peter speaking at a charity event, with a boy beside him. Joseph. Paul's eyes narrowed. So the boy survived? He slammed the glass table. If that boy talks, everything I built will crumble. He picked up his phone and made a call. Find that boy. I don't care what it takes. Back at the mansion, Peter gave Joseph a small gold chain. This belonged to your mother. She gave it to me when we fell in love. Joseph opened his shirt. He pulled out the same exact chain, worn and faded. Peter froze. Tears rolled down his face. It's really you embraced, father and son. After all the pain. But outside the gate, a black car slowly drove by. Inside it was danger. Mr. Paul looked at the mansion through binoculars. You found your father, boy, he smiled coldly, but you won't enjoy it for long. It was quiet in the mansion. Joseph sat on the balcony beside Mary, looking up at the stars. You ever think life would be this crazy? Mary asked. Joseph shook his head. 1 minute I'm fixing tires, the next, I find out I live here. Mary smiled. You deserve peace. But peace was far away, because just beyond the walls, someone was watching. At 2 a.m., the guards at the gate yawned. One stepped away to check the back fence. That's when a black car pulled up, lights off. 2 masked men stepped out. One of them whispered. Paul said no noise. Get the boy. They climbed the fence like shadows. Joseph was asleep on a soft bed, his first real bed in years. Suddenly, the window creaked open. A dark hand reached inside. But Joseph opened his eyes. His instincts, owned from street life, kicked in. He rolled off the bed, just as a cloth bag was thrown over the pillow. He screamed. The men charged in. Mary heard the scream. She grabbed her phone and ran down the hallway barefoot. She saw 2 masked men dragging Joseph toward the back door. Stop, she yelled. One turned to silence her, but she picked up a flower vase and smashed it on his head. The second man pulled a knife. Joseph kicked him in the stomach. He fell, but sliced Joseph's arm in the struggle. Guards rushed in just in time. The men ran. One got caught. The other escaped into the night. Chief Peter stormed into the room. He saw blood on Joseph's arm. "My son!" Joseph winced but nodded. "I'm okay." They questioned the captured attacker. He said only one name, Paul. Peter's face turned red with rage. "He tried to kidnap my son again? After all he's done?" Mary whispered. "He'll keep trying, unless we stop him." Peter called the police. "Find Paul, no matter what." That morning, Peter took Joseph to Enugu. Elizabeth was frying fish by the roadside when a black SUV pulled up. She looked and froze. Joseph stepped out, arm bandaged, tears in his eyes. "Mama," Elizabeth screamed and dropped the frying pan. "Joseph, is this real?" They hugged like the world stopped turning. She wept into his chest. "I thought I lost you. I prayed every night." Joseph smiled through tears. "God heard you, Mama. I found my father." Peter stepped forward. "Elizabeth, I never stopped loving you." But their moment was cut short, because Paul had followed them. He watched from across the street, eyes burning. "If I can't destroy you with lies," he hissed, "I'll burn the truth down." From a distance, Mr. Paul watched the reunion. He saw Elizabeth hugging Joseph, saw Chief Peter smiling beside them. He clenched his teeth. "They think they've won?" He pulled out a small phone and whispered to the man on the other end. "Tonight, burn everything." That evening, Peter sat with Elizabeth in her small home. Joseph held her hand tightly. "I thought I lost both of you," Elizabeth said softly. Peter looked into her eyes. "I was lied to, tricked, but I never stopped searching." Joseph added, "Mama, we're going back to Lagos together. No more selling rice in the sun." Elizabeth smiled for the first time in years. "But my life is here." Peter interrupted. "Your life is with us now." They didn't know someone had poured fuel on the back wall of the house. Late that night, the air grew heavy. Elizabeth's house stood quietly by the road. Then, a match lit the darkness. Flames crept across the back wall. Inside, Joseph stirred. Smoke entered the room. He coughed. "Mama! Fire!" They jumped up. The kitchen was already burning. Peter grabbed a bucket, but the fire was spreading too fast. Joseph screamed, "Help somebody!" Neighbors rushed in. Buckets. Water. Sand. Joseph wrapped his mother in a wet cloth and pulled her out the back. Peter choked as smoke filled the sitting room, but he made it out too. They stood outside, watching Elizabeth's house burn to ashes. Elizabeth fell to her knees, crying. Everything I built." Peter hugged her. "We still have each other." But Joseph stared at the fire, his eyes cold. "This wasn't an accident," he said. "It was him." Mary, who had flown in that evening, nodded. "Then let's end this." Chief Peter called his lawyer, his police friends, and his private security. He set a trap. Paul thought they were heading back to Lagos, but they stopped halfway at an old petrol station. Joseph stood by the car, pretending to tie his shoe. Paul's men approached from the corner. Suddenly, spotlights exploded from behind the trees. Police, guards, guns drawn. "Drop your weapons." Paul tried to run, but Mary stepped in his way, holding her phone. "I recorded your men starting the fire." Paul's eyes widened. "You little brat." He never finished. 2 officers tackled him to the ground. Back at the mansion in Lagos, the family stood together. Peter, Elizabeth, Joseph, and Mary. Paul was behind bars. Elizabeth looked around the golden living room. "So this is the life I was robbed of?" Peter took her hand. "It's never too late to start again." Mary smiled at Joseph. "You're not the boy from the mechanic shop anymore. You're my brother now." Joseph looked around. He had a home. He had a father. But something still felt strange. Because one final secret remained. A truth even Chief Peter didn't know. Weeks passed. Joseph, Elizabeth, and Mary now lived in the grand mansion with Chief Peter. The wounds from the past were healing. Laughter returned to the halls. Joseph even returned to school, this time in a proper uniform, not rags. Elizabeth started a new catering business funded by Peter. Her jollof now fed governors. Everything seemed perfect, but Mary had a secret. And it was eating her inside. One night, Joseph couldn't sleep. He found Mary sitting alone in the garden. "Hey," he said gently. "You okay?" She didn't answer. "Something's wrong, right?" Mary looked up, eyes wet. "Joseph, there's something I need to tell you." Joseph sat beside her. "I've been keeping a secret from you. From Daddy, too." Mary reached into her bag and pulled out a dusty envelope. Inside, a letter. Old. Torn, faded. She handed it to Joseph with shaking hands. "This letter was written by your mother. Years ago. It was sent to our house. I found it in Daddy's drawer." Joseph opened it. "Peter, please believe me. I didn't leave because I wanted to. Your cousin lied to me. He said you hated me, that you never wanted to see me again, but I still carry your child. I'm going back to Enugu. Maybe one day you'll find me." Joseph gasped. "Mama wrote this?" Mary nodded. "But Daddy never saw it. I think Paul took it and hid it, until years later when I found it while cleaning." Joseph's voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" Mary looked away. "I was scared. I thought maybe, if he never came, Daddy wouldn't go looking, and I'd still be his only child." Joseph froze. "So you knew I existed?" Mary nodded slowly. "I saw the photo. I saw your chain. I suspected. But when you showed up, I knew it was true." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Joseph. I didn't mean to keep you away. I loved being his daughter. I was afraid to share." Joseph was silent. Then he stood up. Mary braced for anger, but Joseph pulled her into a hug. "It's okay. You shared your food with me before you shared your father. That matters more." She sobbed in his arms. "I don't want to lose my brother." "You won't," he whispered. The next morning, they told Chief Peter everything. He listened quietly, then kissed both their foreheads. "We can't change the past," he said, "but we can build a better tomorrow." That weekend, the family stood together in church. Joseph held his mother's hand. Mary stood beside him. The pastor smiled at them. "This is not just a story of riches, it is a story of reunion, forgiveness, and hope." As they left the church, Joseph turned to Mary. "I think we should go back to Enugu soon." "Why?" He smiled. "I want to rebuild Mama's jollof stand." Mary laughed. "You? Cook?" "Hey, I washed plenty pots in the mechanic shop." They both laughed, walking into the future together. Thank you for watching. For more emotional stories like this, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.